muna pagtanong ka kung magsataso po sa itakarala sa ichini arasi mong sara magsado patikisaban di ko.
All right, folks, what you're watching is the Taliban video of the release of Sergeant Bergdahl that was released today. Joining us right now, I'm very happy to say, is Senator Lindsey Graham, of course, Republican from the great state of South Carolina. Hello, Senator. How are you?
Hey, good, Steve. Thanks for having me.
My
very
pleasure.
Important topic here.
Yeah, very important topic. Now, you had said that, of course, the president released the Taliban Dream Team. I couldn't agree with you more. But have you seen this video? And if you have, what's your reaction to it?
I just saw glimpses of it on television. Well, it's a big day for the Taliban. You know, the only reason they're not dancing in the streets, they just don't believe in dancing. You know, look at last week. It was a huge week for the Taliban. We're announcing we're going to withdraw completely by the end of 2016, which is a dumb idea because we should have some bases left in Afghanistan as lines of defenses between us, Al-Qaeda, and the Taliban. This is where 9/11 happened. It's in our interest to have a forward operating locations over there to keep the enemy at bay, and it would have been good to have some support for the Afghan security forces so the Taliban could never come back. So we withdraw. And they get their dream team back on the field in a year. So hell of a week for the Taliban.
Were you apologized to? I don't know if they just apologized to the committees or the senators,
No.
but you weren't apologized to.
I think hell will freeze over before Obama apologizes to me on national security. Now, I'm not looking for an apology, but what I am trying to do is to detail as much as possible what happened in an open session. I'm tired of closed hearings. They classify everything. There's no reason this should be classified. I want to know, is it really honestly true that Bergdahl was near death, and that's why we had to do it when we did? Could you have not gotten a better deal? Did you have to give all 5 back, or did you want to give all 5 back? Because that's one way to close Gitmo. Was the deal really an effort to have a good week for the president where he announces the end of the war in Afghanistan? And oh, by the way, I've got our only captive back, and I got mom and dad in front of America to thank me. This blew up in their face. There are a lot of hard questions yet to be answered. And where did Susan Rice come up with the idea that this guy served with honor and distinction? This is the same person who said that the consulate in Benghazi was secure, strongly, significantly, and substantially secure. It was a death trap. And the same lady said there's no evidence of a terrorist attack in Benghazi. Al-Qaeda has been decimated, and this was a protest caused by video. And now she's on national television last Sunday telling us this man served with honor and distinction. I don't know what his service, how it should be characterized. There's a process for that. But when it comes to the Obama administration and Susan Rice, you need to take everything they say with a grain of salt.
You know, Ed Rollins yesterday said she's a lousy national security advisor. Now, she's in a different role now, Senator, than she was when she went on with those talking points of Benghazi. She had to know that what she was saying was false. Now, Chuck Todd was asked about this because he's traveling with the president. And on Morning Joe, they asked him, and he said, well, you know, they were caught up in the euphoria of meeting the parents, and they talked about him with the parents in glowing terms, so that carried on to what she said. And no one followed up and said, what? But I'm going to say to you, what?
Well, all I can say is that this is our national security advisor, a person who on 16 September, 5 days after the Benghazi attack, told a story about a protest and a video that never happened, wrote this off to a violent protest caused by hateful video, ignored the fact that there was no protest, sold a lie to the American people about how secure the consulate was. One of two things. She's completely detached from the reality of the situation and literally makes things up that sound good, or she's manipulating the information for political reasons. Either way, should she be the national security advisor? What led her to believe that this service could be characterized as honorable honor and distinction?
Well,
what made her believe?
You took the question out of my mouth. Should she resign?
Well, here, I have no confidence in her. When I hear her on television talking about a world event, I can't believe anything she tells me. Clearly, 6 weeks before an election, the White House, in my view, manipulated the evidence about Benghazi to drive it away from the narrative of a pre-planned terrorist attack that we should have saw coming. into a spontaneous event caused by video that we had nothing to do with, because they were worried about undercutting the president's foreign policy accomplishments. I am convinced that the White House, Ben Rhodes and others, came up with a storyline of a protest and a video to get us away from terrorism. I am now convinced that they expected the whole world, the public here in the United States, to stand up and cheer when he said the war's over in Afghanistan, we're going to have no troops, and by the way, I got Bergdahl home. I had to give away 5 hardened Dream Team killers, that the public is so war-weary they would have cheered. Well, they don't understand that when we see those 5 guys on television, on our screen, it reminds us of the war that we're in and the enemy that we're facing, and the president is disconnected between the war on terror, its reality, and the American people.
With all due respect, I just want to go back to this because I mean, if you have no confidence in Susan Rice in her capacity, should she be replaced?
I would have never hired her to begin with after Benghazi, but he's not going to replace her because I say so. But yes, the National Security Advisor has, on a couple of occasions, appeared on national television speaking about important matters in a very unreliable way. I mean, do you trust that she's going to tell you accurately what happened?
I'll just chuckle. Yeah, I mean, I can't either. I mean, again.
Well, the next thing they're going to tell us, we beat Putin in the Ukraine.
Well, they tell us the sky is green and the grass is blue every day, in my view, and I say that every day on this show. Senator, now they're also saying, again, according to Chuck Todd, who I don't usually like to get my information from, but I was watching Morning Joe while I was getting my son ready for school, and Chuck Todd said that they never expected, and he heard this from aides, from White House aides, they never expected that they would swift boat Bergdahl. Those were the words that he said were used by the White House aides. Do you believe that? I mean, what do you think of that?
I think the people who've appeared on television to talk about Bergdahl's actions and behavior are members of his unit. I don't think they're associated with any organized political group. I don't think they formed a PAC. I don't think they have a political agenda. Clearly, people in that unit are hard over on Bergdahl. We're not going to try him on the phone, on the radio, or on the internet, but where was the Army's investigation? Did they ask anybody in the unit about this guy's behavior? Nobody has swift-voted Bergdahl. All has happened here is that people who know him the best and serve with him are telling us what they think. That's not swift voting. That's just the other side of the story.
All right, now let me ask you about a little politics here. What took place yesterday in Mississippi, Chris McDaniel and Thad Cochran, they're headed for a runoff. Yep. What's your take on what happened last night and going forward in that state?
Well, I tell you, from McDaniel's point of view, that's a hell of an accomplishment. His home county turned out like twice what it normally does to take on somebody who'd been around that long. Thad's a good friend. He's on appropriations. He's a good national security guy. I like him a lot. Don't know McDaniel. I know Democrats are sensing an opening if McDaniel wins. I don't know how accurate that is. We all believe that if Thad got the nomination, Democrats wouldn't play in Mississippi. I want to get the Senate back, so I don't want to put any seats in risk. But this is up to the people of Mississippi. You got to take your hat off to McDaniel. He ran a very tough campaign. That was a big thing he did, but sure don't count Thad out. I can tell you this, he's a tough old bird, and the runoff should be challenging for both of them.
And one more as we head towards November, and it's not that far away, although politically speaking it's a lifetime, as you know. Is this a distraction? Was the timing of this release a distraction to get the talk away from the veteran scandal, which was really hurting this administration, and the Democrats were piling on as well?
Well, if somebody thought this would be a good thing to talk about to get away from the VA, they need to fire those guys. Here's what I think happened, and I can't prove it, but it's just common sense to me. The president is misreading the tea leaves. We're all war-weary. Most people want to leave Afghanistan, but if you ask the question, would it be smart to leave an insurance policy force behind to protect us, they would say yes. By having a couple of bases strategically located, look at it as an insurance policy against another attack coming from Afghanistan. Well, we canceled that insurance policy. The president doesn't really appreciate that the average American is very much in the camp of that these radical jihadists will kill us all if they could. It's better to keep the fight over there so they don't come here. So he just believed by announcing the end of the war and also bringing back the only captive that it would be a foreign policy accomplishment. And here's what America's saying today. Are you nuts? You just gave away the Dream Team. Did you really have to do that? 6 people died trying to save this guy. Did you really have to go this far, or is it about your desire to close Gitmo no matter what? Most Americans would rather see these guys die in jail than get out and go back to the fight. Under the law of war, you can keep them in jail as long as they're a threat. I think the president's misreading the public, and more importantly, he's misreading the threat. What he's done, Steve, he's put jihadists on steroids. This is a huge event for them. He's deflated our allies. Can you imagine how people in Afghanistan feel today, knowing that these 5 are going to come back in a year? Can you imagine how they must feel today? Can you imagine the threat Americans face in the future? Because now terrorists know that if they kidnap American, they can get their guys out of jail. This is a strategic mistake that will haunt us for a long time. The president never saw this coming. He's disconnected from the reality of the war we're in.
And Senator, always great to talk to you. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks, pal.
Take care. That's Senator Lindsey Graham, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Nobody is swift-boating Sergeant Bergdahl, and Susan Rice should be replaced. And the Taliban would be dancing in the streets. The release of the video is a great big day for the Taliban. They'd be dancing in the streets, but the Taliban doesn't dance. I love that quote. All right, we're coming back with the, well, actually, we're going to be joined by Roland Martin and debate this issue with him in a 2-parter, I'm told, right? Yeah, 2-parter. That's 1-2. Buckle my shoe. I don't know why I said that. Coming up on the Steve Malzberg Show.